Okay. So do you hear me well?
Yeah.
So there's a few similarities that I like to draw, and it's purely my personal taste, so some other hackers might think differently. There's the technical one and there's the conceptual one. So technically, hackers normally use tools that are very much mathematical. They have to use statistics, they have to try a lot of things and just draw conclusions from one failure after another until it works. And they get into this mindset where you just don't get it hundreds of times, and maybe the 101st is going to be the good one. And this is very similar to science. The failures and the statistical tools needed are just similar, so a lot of hackers are just able to do that because of that. That's answer number one. I think that the other aspect is the more philosophical, which is hackers are typically working what we call black box. You get a system, you know very little about the inside, maybe nothing, and you control what you feed into it, and you see what comes out. And you have to infer how it works from that. For instance, you get to a website, there's a login page, and you try to break in. All you can do is play with the things you spit in, like the name, the username, and the password. And maybe you try one username, and you look what comes out, and it says username doesn't exist. And then you type another one, it says username doesn't exist. A third, a fourth, hundreds of thousands of them, and then at the 1 millionth username, it says password incorrect. So suddenly it changed from saying username doesn't exist, password incorrect, so you know the username at least exists, because the output changed. To say, okay, now I got something from the inside, I know that at least my username is right. Then you try different passwords, and maybe you try to say, let's think how the programmer would think. Maybe the programmer didn't think that someone can put a password of 1 million characters. So you put that, and then the system says, error, password too long. You say, okay, here's something I can learn. So you start basically feeding things in, getting things out, and somehow learning about the infrastructure of the inside. And this is what hackers are very good at, and they're used to that. And I think that the brain, in a way, is similar in the sense that we can control what we say to it, we can control what we ask it, and we can see what the person does, and somehow we try to use that to infer how the inside works. As an anecdote, I can tell you that I first learned about this analogy between hackers and neuroscientists when I met the late Francis Crick. He was the guy who discovered the DNA in the 1950s, and he won the Nobel Prize along with James Watson for that. And DNA for them was just a code. They had a lot of sequence of letters, and they had to figure out how it works, and from that they basically explained life. The tools that they used were similar tools to the ones we use as hackers, and when I had the fortune to meet Francis Crick just before he died about 15 years ago, I mentioned to him what I did as a hacker, and he said, you've got to use your skills and do something valuable, like be a neuroscientist. And I think that the reason he said that was because he himself was similar. He was working during World War II as a hacker at the time. He was hacking other things, but he was still using his skills as a mathematician to do one thing, and it later translated to being a geneticist, along with a lot of other people in World War II at Bletchley Park in England, who basically broke the German enigma, the German encryption system, and later on went to science and one by one won the Nobel Prizes in physics and computer sciences and many other things, using the same set of skills. But more than that, I think he was able to think that Francis, I'm saying, was able to see the potential of people who are kind of used to looking at system and saying, okay, how can I rig it to do good in neuroscience? And he was in a way my inspiration to go to neuroscience, but also to think that my skills, which were not in neuroscience at the time, might actually be useful to that.